Welcome back to my Battlemap tutorial series. Last video we worked on creating a ship deck tutorial. This here, what we're going to do today is take that shipwreck and take that ship and create a shipwreck similar to what we see here. So what we're going to do is break our ship into multiple parts. We're going to create our broken masts, and we are going to reveal part of the decks from there. Excuse me. So first thing we want to do is we go to our ship that we created last time. We're actually going to delete these excess layers. We don't need them for this. And we're going to want to duplicate our boat, basically the number of times that we're going to break our boat apart. So in this case, I broke it apart in 3 different places. So I'm going to create 3 duplicate groups of our boat here. Okay. And we are then going to save this as a new image. We'll call this Shipwreck tutorial. Obviously, I've already done this once. Oh, one. Actually, I've done it. Whoops. Save. Yes, I do want to replace it. I've done this about 4 times now. I keep messing up. So next thing we want to do is we're going to increase our canvas size. I'm going to increase it to about 8,000, and we're going to go 6,000 wide. This is so we can move our ship about. So if we look over at this guy, it just doesn't include the ship. It includes area for our sails that have fallen off to the side. So that's why we're increasing that. So again, let's just rename our groups here. We'll call this forward, centerpiece. Again, you can name them whatever you want, and stern. Okay, so we're going to hide those, and then we're going to start creating our selections or our masks. So first thing we want to do is where do we want our boat to break? So I'm going to break this guy right around here. And this doesn't have to be perfect, this edge. You can go back and fix this. Okay. And so we're going to apply our layer mask, and it gets rid of all that. And then let's do that for the next. We'll select our layer mask, and we'll show our center because we want pretty much the same shape from there. And we're going to invert it. Okay, so we get this part, not this part. And then we're going to exclude this, so we're going to hit Alt and select here. And again, we're going to make this jagged. If you make it a little bit too round, don't worry about that, as you can always go back and fix that up. So once we apply our layer mask there, you can see that's a bit too round. And one way to fix that is you can just go back in and select again. Okay, I'm just going to select a little bit more here. Okay, and then just go to our layer mask and pick our paintbrush, and then just hide. Whoops, we want to reveal, so the parts first. Let's set this up to 100 and 100. And so there we get our points going one way. Okay, then we're going to invert the selection, and we want to hide these parts. So we're just going to go back in and hide that. Now just be careful not to go outside your selection because it will hide those other parts. So again, there's our nice cut edge. Okay, so that's our middle, and then we're going to select that and go up and show our central piece. Okay, so again, we've got that. We want to invert the selection again, and this time we just actually want to get rid of that. Oops, wrong way. Alt select, and I can sort of that, and then we're going to apply our mask, and that basically hides all that. So when we have our 3 pieces, basically we have our boats, and you can sort of see where our layer masks get in there to where we have things selected. So now let's work on the we'll work on the forecastle part. And so we'll go in and we'll zoom in. First thing we want to do is we want to hide the sails, because even if it just sank, the sails probably are not set still. So we just want to get rid of those. Next, what we want to do is we want to reveal, similar to here where you can see parts of the underlying hull, we want to do similar. So whereas we have our upper deck and we have our lower hull, we basically want to change that a bit. So here we're going to just create a new selection. And again, you want to sort of make it jagged, sort of like the wood planks. Okay, and I'm going to select some of this over here and go along here. Now I try to keep in these wood edges, the edges of the boat, because if you don't, it sort of looks funny because you don't have a wall here. You'd have to build up a sort of wall if you got rid of the edge here. So I sort of keep that. And then you just go in and we're going to invert again, unless you selected that part. And so when we apply our mask, it basically applies it to everything but that we selected. Okay, so there we go. We've got, you know, the starting of our walk. So now what we want to do is we want to give this a little bit more edge or depth. So we're going to create a layer underneath there. We're going to call this upper deck shadows. And then we're going to go to our paintbrush, and we're going to make sure our opacity is down in the 20s or 30s. Again, what you're comfortable with. And I always use a irregular brush. I've got it set for 60 right now, size. And we're just going to go along the edge here and just sort of define that a little bit more. So again, we're just going to give it a little bit more shadow depth. You're not going to notice it much in the center deck because again, that's pretty dark already. But again, right there. Now here we can't really apply it because it's outside of this mask area. What we'd have to do is apply it underneath this altogether. Whoops. Didn't want to do that. Okay, back down to our mask here. Or no, this is our shadow deck, sorry. So again, we're just going to give it a little bit of a depth right there. And we're going to do this sided because again, this is like the side of the hull. There we go. And that's my dogs walking around as you hear the jingling for there. Okay, so there you can sort of see we've got, you know, a nice shadow here, a nice edge there. Now we're basically going to repeat this process for each of the different boats or different sections you break it out into. So again, here I'm going to get rid of these stairs, probably broke out. So I'm just going to go along here, go along there, and then just break this out. And if you want really fine grain, you can actually use the polygon select. That gives you nice sharp edges. I just find that takes a little bit too much time. Oops. I want to include, I'm going to give this guy a full edge here. Okay, and then so again, we're going to invert our selection and apply a mask. So again, there's there. And then we're going to go over on this side and we're just going to do similar. And again. Okay, and then we just go with our paintbrush, boost it up again. Otherwise you got to go over it too many times. And increase that in size. Okay, and there we go. So again, we want to add another shadow layer. So again, here's our upper deck shadows. So again, we want to make sure we decrease our flow. And then just go along here Give this guy some depth shadow. Okay. I'll do it on both sides because we put it in both sides for this, the center deck. And this is, again, I'm doing this here because, again, this is sort of the wall edge, you know, this shadow coming down from there. So I'm just going to apply that to there. Okay, so there we go. And again, if we zoom out, whoops, zoom out, not in, and we show our front piece, we go there, and let's actually take this front piece, whoops. We're going to take this front piece and shift him off. The reason he's so big is because of our shadow, so I can actually zoom out here, and we're just going to, okay. So again, we're just going to move this guy slightly, give him, you know, a little bit of turn. And this guy, let's actually shift the centerpiece out. We'll shift him that way. Okay. And then we'll hide both of those, and we'll go down to our stern and do the same. So again, I'm just going to expand it, go to my, get rid of my sails, and go to my upper decks and say, okay, this guy actually broke into here. And broke a bit into here. And we're going to invert that. Selection as usual. Apply our layer mask, and there we go. So then again, we want to apply a shadow. Upper deck shadow. And go to our, whoops. Let's zoom on our paintbrush. Make sure our flow settings are set. Be careful we're not getting too much out. Putting a little bit out there is not bad. We're actually going to put some shadow along the edge there as well, so we get shadow along here and such. Okay, so there we go, and we're going to take our whole stern and we're going to turn that sideways a little bit and just shift him down. So again, when we show all three, you know, there's our boat. So what we're going to do is we're going to put all these in a group. And we're going to call it a Shipwreck. And we're going to apply a blending option. And we're going to give this a bit of a drop shadow. And again, it really depends on what your preferences are. You know, do you want it, you know, a bit? So again, I'm just going to there. So again, if we take a look at that, whoops, cancel. Start getting some lag because with all the different sections in here, it is a large file. So again, my settings are multiply, distance is 0 because it's going straight down, spread is 10, and I've got the size of 62 right now. But again, that's more to your preference. Okay, I forgot to hide my center sails. Okay, there we go. So that's, for the most part, your shipwreck, your basic shipwreck. What we want to do now is create our sails or our masts. So what I have is this piece of wood grain here. The grain's not as important because, again, when you shrink and apply effects to the grain, you're not going to really notice it much. So I'm going to cut out basically my mast, okay? And we want to make sure that's up at the top. Let's create a new group, and we'll call that masts. Drop that guy into there. He's actually going to get his own group because we're going to have 3 masts. We're going to have this as a center mast. Okay. I always do the largest mast first because then I can just shrink the other guys down. What we want to do is select that guy. We're going to go to our gradient tool, and we're going to select the equal gradients. Again, I never know what the name of this is. Oops, reflected gradient. Okay, there we go. Reflected gradient. We're going to go from black to transparent. Okay, so you want to basically go to the middle of your plank or your wood and just go out and make sure you go straight up and apply. I'm going to apply a little bit more blackness. Okay, so I get some nice rounded edges, and then we're for the most part done there. Okay, so then we just want to make sure we're sized to the same size. Okay, so again, your mast 1 probably isn't going to be longer than your boat. Okay, it's probably going to be from the front all the way up, and you want the width of your mast piece. So again, I'm just going to shrink this down, and then I'm actually going to shrink this down a bit to what I feel is the proper width, or length I should say. Okay, and I'm going to duplicate this, and this is going to be our mast pole, and we'll call this crossbeam. Okay, so our crossbeam is going to be much thinner, and it's going to be a little bit more than the thickness of our boat. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. So again, I'm just going to shrink this down, make it a little bit thinner. Obviously, if we did this on axis, it wouldn't be bad. So again, if you remember our sails, if we go up to our sails, where's our sails? You want it basically the width of your sails. So again, I'm just going to shrink that guy down a little bit, and there we go. So again, let's just tie the sails. So again, he's going to just be a little bit thinner. And so we'll put him off to the side. This guy still needs, it looks like he's still a little bit too thick. So I'm just going to bring him down. I'm also going to taper him at the edge. And a nice easy way to do that is transform perspective. We can just bring this in towards this top. Okay. Maybe a little bit more. Oops. Transform perspective. You could also go warp or distort, I guess. I just find perspective does it nice and evenly on both sides. Okay, so there we have our mast, if it goes there. Okay, and we're going to get our crossbeam, and let's actually try and straighten this guy out. Here we go. Okay, he's pretty good. We'll just slightly bring him back. Okay, I just find it easier to do things on center. Okay, we'll get rid of that. Okay. Now this guy probably had 2 crossbeams. Okay, so we're gonna make another, and we'll shrink him down. Okay. And then what I want to do is I want to get some rope. So I'm going to go out to my mundane stuff, and I actually have some rope here. I'm going to actually grab this guy. I don't want this whole section of rope. I'm actually just going to want the cross parts of it. Okay. So again, I'm just going to take this rope here, turn him sideways. Okay. And then I'm going to size him such that, actually it'd probably be easier if I just cut this now. Again, just I'm going to go along there, cut that piece off, and I'm going to go along here and cut this piece off. Okay, and so then, oops, did I miss a piece there? Okay, apparently did. There we go. Okay, so again, if I make him the width, or the height of the beam. I'm going to cut that piece off right there too as well. Obviously, I missed something out here. There we go. Make it a little bit bigger as it overlaps. And I'm just going to trim this guy up here. Okay. So when you actually zoom out to 100%, it really doesn't look all that bad. Yeah, I may have grabbed another piece, but again, if you look at these, they're not the best. So if you got individual rope coils, maybe that'll work better for you. I think this is fine for me. So again, when I zoom out all the way out, you're really not going to notice it much. So I'm going to duplicate that and just drag that guy down. And here we'll just resize him slightly. Okay, and there we go. So again, there's our center mast for that. Okay, so now we're going to want to create 3 of these because we got 3 masts, 1, 2, 3. So I'm just going to duplicate those groups. And we'll have this be our forward mast. And this is our stern mast. Okay. So we'll take our center mast and let's just line him up approximately where we want him. We'll take our stern mast and we'll go here. Now our stern mast is always going to be smaller. And so what you want to do is try and get that to be the thickness of there. If you scale it all at once, it sort of works nicely. Okay, and then our forward mast, again, we're going to move towards the front. And we're going to scale him down to be there. So this is, again, why I wanted a larger area, just so I can move these things around. So again, now just going to work on individual masks. I'm just going to break that guy off because he's probably never a clean cut. Okay, there's my mast pull, so there's that. And then go up here, just zoom out a little bit. I'm sure it didn't fall nice and even, so again, what we're going to do is just cut some of these pieces out. Okay, and this guy, same for here. We'll just get this guy now. This guy, and again we're going to do this for all the masts. So again we're just breaking up this guy. Whoops, this guy fell a little bit more. Now this guy, the edge, I'm actually going to apply a little mast to him. Whoops, and I'm just going to go like this. What that'll do is it'll look, when you apply underground layer, it'll actually look like it's sort of buried into the dirt. But again, you can do that at the time you actually drag this over. So this one, let's go back to our rear mask. Here I am going to, this guy broke at the edge. And, whoops. Okay, whoops, did I undo the lasso? Make sure we're on the right layer. And there we go. Okay, and then for these guys, that's the centerpiece. I want to move that up just so I can move these as a group. here. Again, we're going to skew this guy, break him up. And so again, we're just going to do this for each of the different pieces. Whoops, I pasted him twice. There we go. And this guy. So again, and this guy will just apply a mask. And this will make this look buried. And we'll go from there. Okay, and then the center one. That. Okay, this guy, we're going to make this guy buried because it's basically hitting the edge of the deck and going down towards the sand. We could probably apply a little bit of a perspective to that. Let's go cancel. Make sure we're on the proper layer. Edit perspective. Probably should do it more when you're horizontal and vertical, but that's okay. And here we're going to select this. Okay, make sure you move your rope over, and we'll move this whole guy over, and then we'll just cut some of him up. Okay, so there you go, and that's pretty much done for the most part. What you may want to do is add some storage equipment. So again, if I go out here, I go to crates and stuff, which is I store in storage. We'll get a barrel, drag that barrel in there, and I basically want to drop them there. So stern, where is this? Forward. So I want to be down there, and there he is. So we want to basically take him. Oops. Oh, that's because he's outside the mask. So again, and that actually looks a little bit big. We'll just shrink him. Actually, he doesn't look that big. Okay, but again, we'll just, come on, rotate him. And so you can do that, putting all types of equipment inside the deck, and then if you put it outside, you just put it outside the pieces or on top of the decks. And that's pretty much it. So if we take this boat and we go over, let's actually just open our previous guy, actually. We'll just go to that guy. Yep. So if we take our boat and drag him over to our shipwreck, he's a bit too big, but I like making him bigger. I'd rather shrink him down. And so we're going to shrink him down about 40%, I think. Yep, maybe 35. Okay, that's way too much. Oh, I hit 25, that's why. There we go. And so there's our shipwreck that you can apply to there. And that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it comes in use. Thanks for watching. Bye.